everyone's doing well today. This is our first live stream of the week. It's a new week. A lot of my subscribers are from America, so it's still Sunday evening where you are, but it is Monday morning, 6:30 a.m., getting the week started on the right foot. So in this live stream this morning, we're going to go over this past weekend's fights. We're going to talk a little bit about the fights we won, the fights we lost, and then, like always, as the live stream marinates, I'll leave that open to you guys for you to talk. But also, we're going to look ahead, guys, because we have a busy week of boxing. There's over 5 cards all throughout the world. I want to give you guys a heads up. I already put it in the post section. The first fights this week start in less than 48 hours, maybe 72 hours. So Wednesday night here in Australia. If you guys are ever down in Australia and you make it to the Great Barrier Reef, the Great Barrier Reef is in Queensland, and it's in a town called Cairns. So in that town, Cairns, that's where the fight card is Wednesday night. You have both Liams are fighting. Liam Perro is fighting, and then Liam Wilson is fighting. Liam Perro, former world champion. Wilson is a world title perennial contender. He had a close fight against Navarrete, had controversy in that fight. He eventually got stopped. And then the Oscar Valdez fight, both guys are looking to continue their path to one day fighting for a world title. We also have the return of Deontay Wilder. We have the Jake Paul card. I'm probably going to be focusing more on the fighters who are on that card. I still don't think I'm going to feature the Jake Paul fight. But on that card, you have Floyd Scofield. You have Tevin Farmer. Gilberto Ramirez is on that card. So we're going to be featuring some. Curiel's fighting on that card. So we're going to be featuring some of those fights on the Jake Paul card. You also have Christian Mabili is fighting. We're going to feature that fight. Also, Eric Bazignan. I like Bazignan. He's a guy you might recognize from the fight with Jaime Munguia, I think a little over a year ago. So there's a lot of fights to cover, guys. It's going to be a busy week. Jean Pascal is fighting. So let's start with this past week. Everyone doing their check-ins. I say, what's up, boys? What's up, guys? To recap, everyone on my picks, Thursday night, I lost with the Araneta. It seems like a month ago, but I hit big. My best pick this past weekend was the Brian Norman Jr. parlay. We hit big on that. Going into the weekend, I had 50-50, kind of had mixed results. I didn't see what happened in Birmingham coming. I should have. I want to give a shout out to TJ. TJ's a fan of the channel. He emailed me, so he called it and predicted it, and a lot of you guys saw what I didn't see. Francisco Rodriguez Jr. did not, the whole narrative about tread on the tires, I was wrong on that. And I'm noticing a trend, at least with my picks lately. The older guy is turning the tide, is rewriting the books. The last 2 fights I've lost, choosing to go against the mileage guy, the older guy, they proved me wrong. And we're talking about Nonito Donaire, and we're also talking about Francisco Rodriguez Jr. He totally big brothered, outboxed, outclassed, beaten up. Fill in the blanks however you want to do. If you watch the Galal Yafai fight, I'm going to talk a little bit about right now in brief of what I saw. I definitely picked Galal Yafai to win that fight. We know what happened. He got beaten up in every round. I was actually shocked to see from Yafai's corner and his camp the lack of a game plan, the lack of a plan B or C, and having no adjustments throughout that fight. Rodriguez's pace, his pressure, his volume in Galal Yafai's face the entire time. Yafai had no answers. The only thing I can say is I'll tip my hat to Galal for being tough as nails. But guys, we know the legacy of fighters. This is what our fathers told us when we were kids, those who grew up in gyms, is you never want to be known for being a tough guy in the ring. You know what I mean? You want to be known for being a smart operator, a guy who punches, who doesn't get punched. That's at least the way I was raised. That's my mindset in the fight game. Being tough is very important. Being gritty is very important. Being able to take a punch is very important. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that all we could say after a performance from Galal was he was tough. And PJ, you're right. I was flip-flopping the entire time. Towards the end of my film study, after I already did my prediction on Yafai, in about 20 hours before the fight, I told you guys, I was being honest with you guys, you don't always have to tell me, and I actually appreciate you boys on this who don't listen to me during 50-50 fights, and then we debate on our live stream. I value that. And I was as honest as possible. Like, I was like, man, Francisco Rodriguez is tough, dude. And sometimes when we talk about making adjustments on my end personally, I'm starting to see an adjustment I'm going to make moving forward. Not and to quote, the best way I could put this is not to get married to my picks. Sometimes I make my picks and predictions a little bit early in the week, and thinking that we'll say 5 hours of film study is enough. But with the Francisco Rodriguez fight, they fought Sunday morning my time. I uploaded my prediction Tuesday night earlier in the week, and up until then, whenever I give you my prediction on my channel, I get married to my prediction. I've never gone against it once it's uploaded. I think that, I could probably kind of maneuver that. Just because I put the prediction up, I could probably, I could see, I wanted to change my mind, but I didn't, and it backfired on me. But I know a lot of you guys did take Rodriguez Jr. for your own reasonings, and I tip my hat to you. I want to give a shout out to Rando Light. Rando, we did last week on the channel for the first time. I asked you guys for your locks. You guys always ask for me for my locks. I asked you for your locks. The first one to respond was Rando Light. If you catch this live stream, I tip my hat. I copied his locks and I posted it on our channel, and they all hit. So hopefully you tailed him. He won some money. Moving forward from Birmingham, we got to Top Rank. I hit on the Top Rank card. I hit money on Jahi Tucker to win that fight and the over. So I ended the week on a high note. I also hit on the UFC parlay. I posted that as well. Won a little bit of money on that because the last few weeks you've been asking me for my picks. And the UFC is, really tough to stay consistent if you're trying to bet every week. But I've hit the last 2 weeks. Mayweather, to answer your question, where do you send your locks? A, you can either email me, my email's in my bio here, or B, as we approach the weekend, so my Friday, your Thursday, if you're in America, just post them in the comment section. Be like, hey, Johnny, in one of the posts, because I post every day. Post in the comment section, say, hey, Johnny, here are my locks for the weekend, and I will screenshot that and do a separate post so everybody on my channel could see your picks. And that's something that I could give back to you guys as well for supporting my channel. So moving forward, all I ask for you guys is to like this, keep supporting the channel. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I'm going to go live for at least an hour today. I have this Monday morning 6:30 to 7:30 block to talk boxing. Then I have a client at 8. I've been up since 4:45 a.m. My first client of the day, Monday through Thursday, is always at 5:45 a.m. We do a little 30-minute calisthenic session. So I've already done about 600 push-ups, 600 squats, body weight sort of stuff. So I'm ready to go. You catch me Monday morning, I'm a morning guy. But looking ahead, if you want to leave I want to know how what you thought of Jahi Tucker. I'm not going to say I was shocked with how many people were taking Truck Simpson, but I feel those who were taking Truck Simpson aren't really, and this is no shade to you guys. That was a fight between really boxing heads seeing what we were seeing. Whenever you get Americans from rival cities, thanks, Tycoon. Whenever you get a boxing match in America between rival cities, you had Jahi from Brooklyn and you had Truck from Baltimore, you'll get those sort of like loyal fans who will cheer for a guy with no reasoning. And I got a lot of those in my breakdown analysis comment section for Truck. But when I asked them to give me a path to victory, they couldn't give me a path to victory. So we hit on that. I was very confident in that pick, and it came through. I didn't really bet on Vito Melnicki. That's a guy that I put at the domestic level. I was shocked that he got the main event. Maybe somebody in his camp, I know his father got a little paper, so maybe his father bought that main event. But did you guys watch the Top Rank card? The ring looked like it was 10 feet. The ring was one of the smallest rings I've ever seen. And I don't really have a lot to say about that Top Rank card. It wasn't really, nothing, it really flew under the radar. I thought Simpson Tucker would have been the main, but they put Melnicki in there. And, he really, for my liking, I really put him in maybe the top 50. That was a 12 by 12. It was really tiny, right? He still couldn't knock him out. And guys, and say what you want to say. That card was built around Melnicki to get a stoppage. Lock of the week, very confident. PJ, I'll take you up on that. To answer your question, PJ, if you guys are looking, you probably won't be able to get the fights on your betting app yet for Australia, but by Tuesday, you guys will get the options. Liam Wilson, Liam Perro, and Kira Rushton. Those three guys are going to win 100%. I have the highest of all of my strike rate in terms of long parlays and method of victories. I do the best in Australia and top rank cards. And this Australia card, based on the promoter, filled with feeder fights. So it's just going to be you Americans, how many fights are you guys are offered on your sports book. So today I'm going to upload the breakdown of Liam Perro. Tomorrow I'm going to upload the breakdown of Liam Wilson, and we're going to talk about it. So, yeah, Perro, Wilson, Rushton. Those guys are going to win the fight. We're just going to see if we're going to get method of victories. Yeah, that ring was so small. The whole production, like, I wasn't even able to watch it live here in Australia. I had to watch a secondary feed after it streamed. And so I already knew what was going to happen. I watched the Jahi Tucker with close eyes because I wanted to see how he fought. He fought well. And then Melnicki, I knew it went to a decision. I'm not impressed with him. Dwayne Styles, I appreciate you. Next stop, LA, this Friday, press conference. We got, Crawford, Canelo. They're doing the rounds right now. One of their videos kind of went viral just today. There was a push, a shove. Blessings, you were spot on with Ramirez, the girl fight. I think it was Ramirez. Yeah, the ring, it looked low quality. And a lot of that top-ranked production, it's been well documented. They're going through a transition in terms of their contracts. So that's what you got to think what that was. It looked out of pocket to me. That whole production looked like somebody and it makes sense, just to have that card in Melnicki to the headline. I bet you somebody in Melnicki's camp paid out of pocket for that production. I don't know. Doesn't matter on my end. Liam Wilson, Liam Perro, and Kira Rushton, PJ, to answer you. Right now, you probably don't even get those fights. They're Wednesday night in Australia, but keep an eye on your sports book. Yeah, Tito, I've heard a lot of bad things about the feed live too. But we have a lot of money to make, guys. Like this coming week. I mean, Wilson, Perro, Christian Mabili, Wilder. I think right now, underdog that I like on the cards is Tevin Farmer versus Scofield. Umar didn't look great, hand history fault. You're talking about the co-main in Long Beach, right? Against the 42-year-old Colombian. I watched that fight. It was a weird fight. You're welcome, PJ. All right, blessings. Blessings. After you get off of this live, whenever you put your parlays together and they're locks, print them out in a comment on the post section. TJ, that's you, brother. All right, cool. Yeah, guys, and stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to be going live with a new face this week. He is a boxing handicapper. He's another one of these guys who makes his living, makes his money as a boxing mind, making money off of the fights. And he told me all week via email, that Galal Yafai was going to lose. And so, after that, I was in, all the evidence and receipts, and I was like, all right, let's do a live. Let's talk about it on stream. So I'm going to be going live this week. I don't know exactly what day with TJ, but stay tuned to the channel. I really like so far, without putting too much thought into it, based off their careers, I'm leaning on Tevin Farmer to beat Scofield. And right now, it's not quite a 50-50. If you put 100 on Farmer on my book, you get your money back plus 150. So he's not quite a 2-to-1. And Scofield's $1.61. 100 on him right now gets you your money plus $61. But remember, guys, I'm forced to do three-way betting. The draw at 17-to-1 changes those odds both ways. So, guys, we're about 15 minutes in. I'm gonna be staying on for a while. So let's get these questions in. Blessings, I agree with you. I just think what Tevin Farmer has showed us as of late as well. Going the distance, I like it. What I've seen from Tevin as of late, it looks to me he's still at that level. And we talked about it last week and the week before. a lot of his losses, it just seems like they could have gone either way. Always coming up short, 100%. Farmer by decision odds. Yeah, and as we get to go the distance, that's what. All right, so this is obviously going to be a popular pick. We just got three people right in a row. The distance to play, Farmer by decision, or just the fight to go the distance. Let's see if we get method of victories this early. Yeah, nothing yet. Just the money line right now. But as the week progresses, I'll get those odds. And yeah, like I said, I'm still not sold on Scofield. There's nothing that I've seen from Floyd Scofield. And this is a tough fight. And you know what? My hat goes off to Floyd Scofield's camp for taking this fight. And Zepeda was trying, but Farmer is a slick veteran, guys. He could box. Another thing I'm impressed with Farmer is how he moved up, moving up in weight. He actually looks more sturdy. And, the dude's built really well. He boxes really well. High fight IQ. His focus is well. You never see that guy like disconnected in a fight. You could tell he's always thinking. All right, so this is a popular pick. Farmer. It's a Golden Boy card. Floyd is a valuable asset, unfortunately. I got to be honest, too. Lately, what I've seen with the judges throughout the world internationally, there has been a couple awkward decisions, especially on cards, but the fight didn't go against them. But overall, this past weekend, I feel the judges overall throughout the weekend were pretty fair. I mean, there was that one fight on the undercard, Rubikava, which I thought one of the judges during the Rubikava fight had it 6-2 his opponent, 6-2 Rubikava, and then his opponent won. And Rubikava was a 12-1 favorite, and he lost, rightfully so. Did Farmer give everything he had in those Zepeda fights? See, and this is where I overthink it. I overthought the fight this past weekend with Francisco Rodriguez Jr. Whenever these guys have a lot of miles, it's what's up, DJ? Lunging sluggers, overrated power. Yeah, Scofield's just been really marketed well. And, with social media being on those cards, kind of tapping into his generation. I don't want to call him, I think this isn't to take shade at him, but he kind of has tapped into that influencer fan base a little bit. So I'm not on TikTok, but I assume that maybe, I don't even know if boxers are on TikTok. That's how out of touch I am on other social media sites. But everything in terms of comment section, when the hype was going on for Floyd versus Shakur, and I was reading all the comments, people were saying Floyd was going to beat Shakur, and I was just thinking, who are these people thinking? What have these people seen that I haven't seen when they're just saying Floyd is going to beat Shakur? And then when I would tap into give me your reasoning and they didn't have a reasoning, I kind of used that as a gauge on, oh, these are casuals. They don't know what they're talking about. Because when you look at, somebody's game plan, somebody's skill set, their offensive arsenal, their defensive style, you got to use all those to compare and contrast who do you think's going to win. Can't miss 100% Koki. Win or lose, you can't miss opportunities like that. Pulling out of that fight left a bad taste in my mouth. You should have said Floyd who? Yeah, right? 100%. Guys, have you been reading the comments? Or I want to hear your opinion on the smaller ring going into the Canelo Crawford fight. Because I have a Facebook group to where it's a lot more sort of engagement in terms of people just impulsively commenting. And people think that the smaller ring is going to favor Crawford. And I was reminding them, I was like, guys, a smaller ring a smaller cage in MMA favors the grappler because the striker has less room to work. And a smaller ring favors the big puncher because the mover, the operator has less room to work. And it was weird that people didn't know that. I was kind of, and I'm not sure, did they make the ring official for September with Crawford Canelo? Because I know a lot of people were kind of talking about it. Yeah, exactly. The smaller ring will favor Canelo. And I kind of sometimes have to check myself when I see a narrative going around that so many people are agreeing to that is wrong, and I have to am I being gaslit by the boxing community? It's insane. Of course, yeah. Everybody who's ever boxed knows what the smaller ring means. It's literally a drill. Depending how old school you guys are, if you've joined a boxing gym, I remember doing this drill, Southside Boxing, when I was a kid. Jack Lowe, they kind of showed it a little bit on one of the Creed movies, but you put your front foot and it teaches the young kid how to take shots and how to stay in the pocket, how to phone booth fight. But you put your front foot inside of a jump rope, or a cone or a tire, and you put your opponent's front foot there and you're not allowed to move it. And you have to fight right there. And you have to lean in, and it teaches you, how to take shots, how to give shots, how to be comfortable in a firefight. That's exactly what the small ring does. I think Crawford outboxes Canelo to crafty and sharp. Canelo used to fight slower, heavier pace, only throws 2 to 3 punches. You can't beat Crawford like that. This is going to be an underlying narrative throughout until fight night. And on my live streams, I welcome the conversation. I keep it on track and on target with what's going on week to week. You guys know that. But we have to talk about it. Where your heads are at with the Canelo Crawford fight, how you guys see it playing out. It's an interesting matchup. I can't really sit here and say I'm confident one side or the other. I know who I'm leaning on in terms of the smart money. And some people, I've already taken heat for a comment I made last week on a live stream. But yeah, Crawford will shock the world like Spence fight. Crawford is, one of my favorite fighters too, guys. But when we look at what we've done in a career, Ricky Burns, one of my favorite fights. Let's ask each other, what's your favorite fight of Bud Crawford's? My favorite fight of Bud Crawford's was against Ricky Burns. He fought Ricky Burns at 135 pounds. It was the one, he goes overseas, invades another land, sort of like conquering mindset, and he wins a world title. And Burns is a legend where he comes from, and had Burns' crowd at the end of that fight, cheering for him. And to this day, Bud could go overseas, the UK. I think that fight was in Ireland, and be adored, right? That was at 135 pounds, though. What's your favorite fight at Canelo's? Answer that. I'm only referencing that because weight, the 135 Bud, how he fought, obviously, years ago. What was that, at least, was it 10 years ago? Wasn't the same guy who fought Madrimov, obviously for a few reasons. Bud versus Burns, 135. Bud versus Madrimov, 154. Not just the weight, the years as well, the career as well. Styles change a bit, skills change a bit. So for me, when I'm breaking that fight down, I have to look at the rear view. I have to say, I can't look at the Bud versus Burns. I can't look at the Bud versus, all those other fights prior to Madrimov. Maybe EJ, but that was at 47. 21 pounds lighter than 68. So you have to just break down Bud versus Madrimov, I feel, when you're breaking down the fight intelligently trying to find a victor. And then with Canelo, you have a couple different options. You could go up and look at his performances, when he went up to light heavy, or you could stay at the Skull fight, or you could look at the Berlanga, Munguia, those fights. So that's something to think about. Yeah, the Sean Porter fight was awesome. And I'm in Ohio, I grew up in Northeast Ohio, and I was still, like I told you, I was a Porter fan. I spent a lot of Bud's career cheering against him. And then I became a fan when he stopped Errol, because that was the first fight where, and I was a huge Errol Spence fan, how he goes, offensively. I liked how, his marauding style, how he went about his work, the southpaw body puncher sort of style. I really like that, probably because I'm not a southpaw. It's probably why I like big wave surfing. I don't even go in the water. So I always like things optically from a, performance perspective from athletes or fighters who do things that I don't do. So EJ was always one of my favorite fighters, but in my breakdown, I bet against him and picked Bud. And so I not only won money on Bud, I became a fan that night on how he operated against EJ. And I was like, Jesus, I've been this dude. Oh my God. Right. So that being said, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to expect come September, mate. I don't know what to expect. There's going to be a lot of overthinking, but I'm not going to just tell you that I think it would be reckless for me to just say because Bud is, undefeated 4 division champion, he's just going to pop up to 68 and beat Canelo. That is wild. That should be the narrative when we're breaking these fights down. Crawford and Mayweather, best attributes, their natural body strength, guys. Mayweather's speed and reaction time too, though, mate. Mayweather's fight. Don't sleep on Floyd's fight IQ either, mate. Floyd was a guy who came into this world in a boxing family. The connections with Kronk boxing. His amateur career, how he had to change his style when he used to be a big puncher, very aggressive fighter when early on, well documented, started hurting his hands, changed his style, changed his marketing, all of that. High fight IQ. And that, some could say, his best attributes are the physically God-given gifts, his strength, his speed, how he moves, his operate. But I would say it's the learned behavior that he learned as a little boy from watching his father, his uncle, his family members, all those guys when he was younger. So I just think that IQ, at least for me watching Floyd as a kid, I watched his whole career. I just like watching him operate in the ring. And those were some of my favorite fighters as a kid. I was never really into, because I was small, like big heavyweights, even though we lived through the heavyweight era, Tyson, Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Bo. I really was a huge James Toney fan. I don't think James Toney really gets the flowers he deserves. When you watch what he did moving up weight classes and how he fought and, his fight IQ in the pocket, staying right there, his skill set. James Toney was a freaking joy to watch. But personally, when I'm like 9 years old, 10 years old, I like the little guys. I like Pernell Whitaker, watching him do what he did defensively, how he'd get low and just stay. Dude, man, that's why when I talk about mobility and maneuverability, it's one of my favorite things watching with a fighter. Floyd can control the entire fight. Opponents. Floyd deserves a lot of his hate. But there's one thing you can't knock on, which, yes, always kept in shape. Muscle Brown's eating. Guys, and on the live stream, I had it flip-flopped. Muscle Brown took the under on the knockdown prop bet, not the over. So either way, you were sweating. I had Crawford down the Porter fight until his corner. Yeah, that Havelock, that's like one of my favorite in-fight viral moments. And they all seem to happen in that era. One of my favorite ones was the famous Teddy Atlas and Timothy Bradley moment. We're fire, men! We're fire! That moment, you see the corner. And then the other one was when, Bud's corner tells him he's down and Bud looks at him. He's like this. And then Bud goes out and stops him. Camacho probably had the fastest hands. Macho Camacho, man, when he beat up Boom Boom Mancini, I kind of had to hide under a table and drop a tear. Because Ray was from my hometown. I remember going to Ray Mancini fights in the local baseball stadium. Taylor and Jones in the 90s. Yeah, for sure. But so Muscles, I tip my hat to you, mate. That under knockdown prop bet, you had to be sweating though. Yeah, Boom Boom Mancini. He's been on. I've interviewed him a few times. He's a legend where I come from, man. Obviously, a lot of people only remember him from that Dooku Kim fight, that tragic fight that eventually helped change the trajectory of how boxing was fought. We know what happened. It was 15 rounds against Dooku Kim. They fought that fight at 1 p.m. during the day out in the desert in Vegas. And then a few years later, they changed it from 15 to 12. But it's that fight that is used as a marker on why the sport got shorter, because all the damage. And don't fight in the middle of the desert. Where would you rank Ohio on the top? Oh, I'm from Ohio. What do you think I'm going to say? Koki, what do you think I'm going to say? Yeah, I was definitely sweating. I'm a big fan of Michigan, too, like old school Detroit. I mean, it's tough. Yeah, Michigan. There you go. Kronk boxing. I love Kronk. I have a shirt and a hoodie. Wednesday fight card. Lloyd, I don't see an upset right now. Guys, this is my favorite part of the live stream. We're 30 minutes in. We're doing random questions. So to recap, some of us, we had an up and down weekend. I started on a win, started on a loss, ended on a win. Hit big with the Brian Norman Jr. parlay, and then hit with Jahi Tucker in a USC pick. We have fights midweek, though, guys. Australia. Yeah, Manuel Stewart's amazing. Liam Wilson's fighting Wednesday night here. Liam Perro is fighting Wednesday night. And a really fun prospect I featured on my channel before, Kira Rustin. So there's some money here. There's some money to be made. And then a whole big week of boxing. Yeah, hopefully Jahi starts to get a little bit more props. Because look at the loss. The loss to Nick Flaz is aging really well. He was 20 when he fought him. He's only 22. Yeah, Liam Wilson's going to win. Wilson's going to win. These are feeder fights. My hit rate, personally, over the last month for the Australia cards, I'm not going to say I'm close to 100. I don't know if I got to do my receipts, but yeah, the Australia has kind of been my wheelhouse. Where I've been losing on my picks are going against the old heads. No need to. I got to stop doing that, but I guarantee the minute I go with the old head, they're going to lose. Nonito Donaire I went against. Francisco Rodriguez, even though he was 32, I went against. So I think they're slowly rewriting this narrative that tread on the tires isn't always a gimme in terms of betting against those guys. Because we both know what happened in those fights. They both got victories, and I missed on both of them. So yeah, there's more lessons to learn, guys, through our losses, and this isn't supposed to get hippie-ish. 100% more lessons to learn through the losses than there are through the wins. Because when we win, we think we're gangster. When we win, we're all cocky and arrogant. You know, cats is strutting, sending their slips to your boys, making Instagram posts, and then all it takes is one loss. Fools are silent, going on little weak hiatuses. So focus on the losses more than the wins. Do you see a knockout this weekend or this Wednesday? All you have to do is watch tape on Liam Wilson to answer that question. My problem with, and I'm going to break this fight down. I'm going to upload it for you guys. Liam Wilson is known for his lead hook. Australia knows, he's always the number one. Right now, BoxRec has him ranked number 2 at 130, right behind a buddy of mine, Jackson John England. But Wilson has a win over John England. Wilson's left hook is world class. We've seen him drop. He dropped Navarrete with that lead hook, and that lead hook has taken him around the world. The problem with that lead hook when a hooker falls in love with their best punch, is they think they could get away with it in every fight at every time. And sometimes they don't set it up. So just watch the Oscar Valdez fight. In terms of Liam Wilson not having a smart game plan, I know the fight went a little longer, but what happened to Liam Wilson to me is akin to what happened to Tim Tszyu against Murtazaev. And what's the common denominator? Both Australian fighters who fall in love with their power, who feel like that's going to be the only thing to stop every opponent. But we know at the high level, not like the level above world class, world class, world champion, Hall of Famer sort of thing, the level above, you have to have that strength, but also be able to know how to navigate towards a plan B or plan C and be able to make adjustments in the fight. I haven't really seen Wilson showcase that yet. And with Wilson, it's not a skill issue. It's a psychological issue. I've seen him get stopped before and in the middle of the ring apologize to his corner and apologize to his fans because he admitted that he just is so engaged in a firefight where he can't take a step back from that and follow the game plan. That kind of worries me when Liam Wilson fights at the highest level. What does that tell you? It kind of ego. It's an ego thing, a lack of maturity at the high level. You throw fight IQ in there. So Liam Wilson, his career for me personally, in terms of what he does really well, what he's looked like at the highest level, been kind of frustrating. So should he get a stoppage? I think I don't know what those odds are. We'll see. Same on Araneta. That's wacky. Waiting on power left punch and weight. Let Lloyd Hernandez. No more talking about Christian Araneta. Neil White, who you like, Scofield versus Farmer. I like Farmer in that fight. And right now he's an underdog, so take it for what you will. I'm going to break down that video this week. I'll upload the analysis and prediction. Guys, my stats don't lie videos, those are under the playlist fight prediction. And then, so if you guys want to see those uninterrupted, click on those. Last week we did the Norman Jr. fight, the Jahi Tucker fight, and the Galal Yafai. I like Farmer by decision. I think it goes the distance, exactly. Guys, wherever you are, like this video. It's Monday morning here. Sunday evening for the Americans, wherever you are in the world. I say welcome. I'm going to keep this live stream on for at least another 20 minutes before I have to go coach. We have a lot of fights this week, guys. The return of Deontay Wilder. A, no one's brought him up in this stream. B, no one's asking why is he fighting again. Why is Wilder fighting again, guys? He's fighting Herndon. Anybody answer that? Christian Mabili. He's fighting. No one's talking about him. Same. I just think Farmer's a step ahead. And maybe this is going to be one of those fights where Scofield proves me wrong, and then I see, because I just haven't seen in Scofield the class to beat Farmer. And Farmer is you lose focus against Farmer in a fight, he's going to be in your ass the entire time. Yeah, John Pascal versus Michael, he's fighting. Pascal's a 3-1 dog. Tough fight for him. I'm not going to predict that yet. Gilberto Ramirez is fighting lefty Zerto. He's fighting Dorticos. He's a big favorite. But yeah, there's a lot of Farmer been in wars. See, this is the narrative, though, that has burned me recently. The whole so-and-so has been in wars, and then I bet against that guy, and then they fucking dominate. You think that Mabili's opponent can pull an upset? I have to do Sulecki. I have to do more research on it. Yeah, Francisco proved it. Nonito Donaire proved it. Come on, Rez. I give credit when credit's due, mate, and I always call myself out on my losses. But yeah, so it's kind of made me rewrite, and it just shows you sort of the evolution in the game in terms of strength and conditioning, how fighters are taking better care of themselves later on in their career. And I've never seen Francisco Rodriguez look better than he did last night. TJ, I agree. TJ's referencing that Emmanuel Navarrete fight when Liam knocked him down, should have won the fight. It was I did a video that got taken down a couple years ago about that exact thing. I did a side-by-side count with my clock, and it was literally a 23 count. Some could say it was a 29 count. But at the lowest, from the time Navarrete fell, at the lowest, it was a 21-22 count. It was insane. And then we know what happens to guys psychologically when you think you won a fight, especially for a world title, and then something like that happens. Think about Usyk versus Dubois 1. What do you think of Rez, man? I don't think about that fight, Rez. I don't. I'm sorry. I'm going to cover some fights on that card, but we could talk about it on these live streams. But I don't know if I'm going to do a breakdown of Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Chavez Jr. lost to Anderson Silva in boxing 15 years ago, guys. There's a fighter so the gym, I wasn't boxing there, but the gym out of Youngstown, the gym that, brought up Kelly Pavlik, Southside Boxing Club, run by a guy named Jack Lowe. When Kelly went pro, it was a lot of guys our age who started boxing there. There's a kid that, I grew up with around who was one of these guys, started boxing because of the high school knockout drugs tournament. His name was the Pride of Ohio, Billy Lyle. Billy Lyle should have beaten Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in Chavez Jr.'s prime. And Billy Lyle's a Youngstown bar fighter where I come from. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah. So some adjustments that I talked about the Galal Yafai fight earlier in the stream, guys. And yeah, okay, TJ, you are a true boxing fan. If you know about the Pride of Ohio, Billy Lyle, go watch that fight. I think he was like a 20-1 dog, and he fought him really well. And he had in terms of like where the hype was in the last names, Billy Lyle had only been boxing for a few years. No, sound like I got Jake? No, it sounds like I'm not breaking that fight down. Sounds like I don't look at that fight as a real fight. It sounds like I respect Jake Paul as a female boxing promoter, but I'm not putting my energy and effort to even break down him versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I'm not even watching that fight. I'm not going to gamble on that fight. I'm not going to put $1 towards that fight. So that's what I mean. But that fight card has some good fights on it. Curiel's fighting, Scofield's fighting, and that's as honest as I could be. I don't know, man. That's where I stand on that. And maybe that's because I'm the old head. You know what I mean? And I grew up with guys who devoted their entire lives. Like a boxing mindset. And the haters are going to say, you're just hating. You're just hating. I'm not just hating. My reliance on calling Jake Paul a boxer when he, on record, says things like, compares himself to Muhammad Ali. It's like, bro, man, shut up, dude. What are you talking about? Shut up. Like, we live in such a day and age where social media following is a currency, or like having like, follow a fan base. And the sport of boxing, when I see like social media channels promoting that sort of thing, it's, yeah. That's all I'm gonna say about that, mate. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I mean, you look at real fighters and look at how many never never get that chance to fight, never get that big fight opportunity, their whole fight. Follow Paulie Spadafora, the Pittsburgh kid. You know what I'm saying? So Paulie Spadafora, one of my favorite fighters in my era. He was a little bit older than me. One of the best southpaws of all time. And people try to hate on me for that. Go watch Paul Spadafora box. Like, never got the big fights. Never got his opportunity. Paulie Spadafora, mate. That is a guy, he's in his late 40s now. The sport is filled with guys who we don't even know their name. At least I know Spadafora. Oh, Pavlik's first Chad Dawson. What are you talking about? Like, in their primes? Kelly Pavlik is one of the best middleweights of all time, dude. Chad Dawson. Dude, the matchups you want to talk about was Pavlik versus Paul Williams that fell through, or Pavlik versus Andre Ward that fell through at 160 pounds. Yeah, Spadafora, there's footage. Him and Floyd were supposed to fight for years. Floyd wouldn't fight him. They sparred 6 rounds in Vegas. Spadafora, now granted, was training for a fight, goes out to Vegas. It's filmed. You can watch it on YouTube. And Paulie was getting the best of Mayweather. It was just sparring. I'm not saying he would have beat Floyd, but the boxing heads who were there, they know what happened. You can watch the YouTube. Just type in Floyd Mayweather versus Paul Spadafora Jr. They went 6 hard rounds, 6 3-minute rounds, and both camps were there. They were talking trash. You're filming it. What Spadafora would do, not a huge puncher, but a great operator in there, smooth, slick southpaw, and did a lot of the things well that Floyd did well. And they were young when they went at it. But I was just saying that in reference to, that guy lives with his demons. That guy falls asleep at night. He's battled drug addiction, alcohol addiction, like a lot of fighters do, PTSD, head trauma, CTE. It's a brutal freaking sport. Brutal sport. So I'm an old head, guys. The type of I feel we should have revelry towards the sport of boxing. I used to go to Adam X fights in New Jersey. Yeah. Good. I mean, old school. Those are good fighters. I mean, I'm just biased with Pavlik, so I wasn't trying to bash Chad Dawson. He had his moments. When Chad Dawson stepped up, who was it was it Andre Ward? Didn't Andre Ward kind of take him to school? If my memory's correct, was that Ward who beat Dawson, and Dawson was asking for that fight and wanting that fight? Or am I off base? But yeah, Kelly was a natural, middleweight. Yeah, Kelly's losses were, he fought Sergio Martinez. I think he fought up, and then obviously he fought B-Hop at 170. And after B-Hop beat him, he said, don't leave 160. That's your division. But I was at the Jermaine Taylor 1 fight. I was at the Max Utuche fight with Pavlik, the Edson Miranda fight. Oh, people forget. Sergio Martinez is a guy who people forget. And Martinez got into boxing a little bit later in life. Muscle, Johnny, call me tonight. I got some info on former Scofield fight about to run it by. All right, I will, Muscles, for sure. Martinez and Triple G had crazy primes. Yeah, for sure. Sergio, man, legend. He's another one. And both guys, when you think about these memes, you look at Sergio and Triple G outside of the ring, how they carry themselves. You would never believe these guys are monsters in the ring. Yeah, Martinez picked up boxing late, exactly, and just went on to have a storied career. He was a bike rider. I didn't know that. I didn't know he was a cyclist. I mean, no wonder he had, the pace, how he fought. One of the saddest nights of my life was watching him beat up Kelly for, I think it went 10 rounds or 12 rounds, and Kelly having no answers. And, Martinez's game plan that fight was spectacular. He wouldn't give Pavlik what he wanted. He wouldn't fight him right there. And you know that Martinez watched that Jermaine Taylor fight, probably both Taylor fights. But yeah, Pavlik's uprising, man. People forget Pavlik was an underdog in a lot of those fights before he got the Taylor fight. That Paul Williams-Martinez fight lives in my head. Great, man. Paul, I was in Atlantic City for Taylor Pavlik 1, the Boardwalk. But Paul Williams is another guy, man. So, oh yeah, so we were both at that same fight, TJ. That's insane. I like when Martinez fought and lost to Margarito. You like when he fought and you like when he lost to Margarito. It's tough for me to talk any sort of positive about Margarito, guys, because I was a fan of Margarito before all of it came out. Before we knew. Quintana upset Paul Williams in the first fight. It was tricky, but got cooked in the rematch. Yeah, dude, the Punisher was legit. Quintana was a good fighter. That era people forget about. That whole era, like 2000, we'll say what, 2004 to like 2010, maybe? Because Kelly went pro, I think, in 2001 when we were 2000. We graduated high school 2000, so we were 18. And then he retired when he was 29, 30. So he fought up until, I think, 2009, 2010. But that era, some great, great fights, mate. Paul Williams like Fundora. I think Paul Williams was just a bit smoother of an operator than Fundora. Add me to the call, Muscle Brown. I want to eat too. Don Julio Mouse. Yeah, crazy volume for sure. Who do you like top of the week? Guys, off the top of my head, this week so far, Liam Wilson Wednesday night. Liam Perro Wednesday night. Kira Rushton, one of my favorite domestic guys who's on the come up. I featured him on the channel before. He's an Aussie. Wednesday night. And then I like, right now, Farmer to upset Scofield, and then we'll build from there. We'll build from there. Yeah, I'm not getting any method of victory prop bets yet, but you got to believe Perro's coming out with a chip on his shoulder. And this fight is a Wednesday night in Australia, Cairns, which is, I always tell people, if ever you come to Australia, got to go there. That's where the Great Barrier Reef is. Something to see if you ever have the chance. So I'm going to stay on for about another 10 minutes, guys. We're floating between 40 and 60 people. Can we like this video? Blessings, I appreciate you. You got me a victory with your the female fight. Perro gets under his new promotion. So yeah, I have right now, guys, the fights I'm being offered on our book, and it's early. On Your Country have odds on Lloyd. It will have the odds, but not yet. So we're still Australia. If you didn't know, the first two countries to celebrate New Year's are the Cook Islands, which is my favorite. That's a whole nother conversation. The Cook Islands, absolutely beautiful place. And then Australia. That being said, the odds are still waiting for Las Vegas to come in. So Monday morning, which is my Monday morning, we usually won't get method of victory odds until midweek. So give me a couple days. Oh, Madison and Cintron. Those are names I haven't said in a while. Yeah, those are names we haven't said in a while. Kermit. But there are some big fights and some big punchers, guys. There's some big punchers this weekend. Deontay Wilder. No one's falling for the bait. I'm trying to bait you guys. Why is he fighting again? Like, do you know why? Because boxing fans, we are all romantics. Say what you want. We love a comeback story. Boxing fans loves the story of a guy who was once here. It's the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell, my favorite philosopher, invented this arc. So this is a whole side quest story. But Joseph Campbell was a philosopher, and he's the guy that George Lucas, and I'm not even a Star Wars guy, never even seen the films. I only know this because I studied Joseph Campbell, the philosopher. Campbell, his whole life's work was called The Hero's Journey, a story of a guy who starts here, climbs, gets everything he wants in life, loses it all, and then gets it back. So that's the hero arc. And before Joseph Campbell's hero arc, Hollywood never used this arc until George Lucas, the dude who did Star Wars, befriended Joseph Campbell. And then I guess in the Star Wars films, I've never seen it, it's this arc that you see and that every Hollywood film used moving forward. So the hero's journey, and one of my favorite Joseph Campbell's quotes, I guess they use it in Star Wars because I've quoted this before in my book. and on my podcast is that the cave you fear to enter holds the truth that you seek. Love that quote by Campbell. And this is why, as boxing fans, we're romantics, because to come full circle, a guy like Deontay Wilder gets into boxing late. It's like a 19-year-old. A few years later, becomes a medalist in the Olympics, becomes a world champion, loses everything. And it's kind of like, we want to see that. We want to see that again. At least I do. So in my head, I know why he's fighting again. I want to hear your opinion on it, because the boxing fans, they're kind of cooking them in the comments. But you know damn well, if we see that Herndon versus Wilder fight and we see that right hand again, that bang, and he just knocks him out, people are going to be like, he's back. He's back. Put Wilder in there with Parker. Put Wilder in there with AJ. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not betting anymore, not feeling it. Rambler. I'm not Rambler, didn't you? Oh, maybe I'm getting mixed up with you and Rando. I thought you won this week, Rambler. What did you lose on? Rambler's out. He's tapped out with the betting. Wise decision. If you're losing too much, tap out. Wilder is shot. Yeah, but TJ, but I can't take CM. I know. That's all I'm saying. I mean, at least it's not what we had to see with Evander Holyfield fighting Vitor Belfort. I blame. This is how petty I am. I blame Jake Paul on that. I think it's all connected. When I had to watch, because Evander was my favorite heavyweight. He's in my first book. I've interviewed him 2 times. Evander was one of my favorite interviews. When I saw Evander Holyfield not even being able to stand fighting a Vitor Belfort who just fought in the UFC, and then Belfort trying to hurt him and knock him out, it pissed me off. And I blame that on Jake Paul. That's consequences of Jake Paul. Or like when you watch one of the worst combat fights I've ever seen was like 3 years ago when they did Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz again. It was horrible to see. But do I think Wilder could knock out Herndon? Not addicted, only bet to pass the time. Okay, Rambler. See, that's an educated response. I appreciate that. Yeah. If you're not having fun doing anything, don't do it. Guys, stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to be uploading the Perro breakdown, the Liam Wilson breakdown. If you're hungry for action, this week is crazy. I'm going to be going live with TJ this week. I don't know exactly when, so just stay tuned. One of these lives, you'll have 2 heads, and he's a boxing handicapper. He sent me receipts. It'll be a similar live stream when I went live with Muscles a couple weeks ago. And there are a lot of smart dudes on these live streams who win a lot of money, so we can learn from them. And let me know who you guys like. Does anybody think Scofield beats Farmer? Because that's going to be a narrative this week. Does anybody think Deontay Wilder is going to win by knockout? That's going to be a narrative this week. I know you guys are going to keep asking me about Jake Paul versus Chavez Jr. Don't ask me. Zerto, the lefty. Zerto's fighting. Christian Mabili's fighting. John Pascal is fighting. A lot of fights. A lot of names. The last few weeks for the casuals, there really hasn't been a lot of names. For us, there has been. Draw on Jake Paul. Yeah, mate. Lloyd. Draw on Jake Paul. DAZN, whoever's running, I think Jake Paul's running DAZN's boxing page. I won't bet on Wilder, Jay. Yeah. There you go. It's tough. I mean, you'd have to. I haven't even seen his training. His legs, his balance. Hopefully he's not doing it for the money. That's why I asked you guys. That was the answer I was looking for. Nobody answered. Nobody took the bait. When I said, why do you think he's boxing? And I wanted, my rebuttal was going to be, I hope it's not for the money. Hopefully he's boxing for the love of the game. Guys, wherever you are, we're almost going on an hour. Let's like this stream. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. Stay tuned to the channel. Hopefully you won money last week. A lot of you guys hit on Francisco Rodriguez or the knockdown prop. I didn't. King Ty Wilder is washed now. Why is he fighting? Ty, why is he taking this fight? Who you got for the NBA Finals? Oh, yeah, that game's going on today. It's tough to bet against OKC at home, but then again, them getting blown out in Indy, How much of that was OKC resting up? We'll see. We'll see if Halliburton shows up. There's a lot of, I don't really bet too much on NBA. The money I've won on NBA this year has just been prop bets on a parlay, a same ticket multi. X player scored 10 plus points, 10 plus rebounds, that sort of thing. I know he started boxing for money when he was 19. We all know that story. My point is, why is he fighting after his storied career? He's won millions of dollars. He's been a world champion. My point is right now, guys, of course we know why he boxed. We know the story. 19 years old, he was driving a truck, goes past a gym and said, hey, I could be a journeyman. My daughter has, special needs. I think she has spina bifida. And, 3 years later, he ends up in the Olympics and wins a bronze medal, thus the bronze bomber. We know that story, guys. I'm talking now. Why does he take that fight? I hope he's not taking that fight because he needs money. I hope that fire got lit again. Wilder name still holds a lot of weight. It does. Manny, Lloyd, 100%. I hope Manny does not need money. You have to think, hopefully, somebody has been taking care of his finances. But I don't know. He seems like a nice guy. He seems like the type of guy that was probably funding a lot of other people's lives. Here's this, here, you know what I'm saying? I know people who aren't at Manny's level personally. I have friends one who was my business mentor, another one was a guy I trained with who funds people's lives because they ran on, they built a nice life for themselves. And they're worried right now that they're going to run out of money because, say you hit lightning hits once on like a trade or lightning hits once on an investment. You come up on a lot of money. Then you get a lot of hands out. And then a lot of people are good people, man. Don't let people fool you. By nature, humans by nature are good people. So if you come onto a lot of money, there's a lot of people who would want to help other people. And we know this happens a lot in boxing. Look what happened to George Foreman. Well documented in his career. He trusted one of his close mates when he was younger to handle his finances. And when he spent that decade preaching and retiring, he had to come out of retirement because he had no money. The money ran out. So we know this is a thing. How to get a haircut. I'm going to rewatch GOAT. Appreciate you, GOAT. GOAT's a beast. All the familiar faces. I'm going to keep it on for about 2.5 minutes. So wherever you are, guys, I say thank you for supporting the channel. Constant growth. We're just getting started. Not even 2 years into the game here on YouTube. This is only my second month live streaming here. I'm looking for an investor in my company. Hey, I got a guy. He invested. If you want to see my first documentary, it's on my channel. It's demonetized because illegal music. But go to playlist, go to documentary. I traveled with a world champion in a sport called Lethway. We traveled to, it's bare knuckle. Imagine bare knuckle Muay Thai, but the headbutt is legal. And the Myanmar government put a white guy from Canada on their currency. Think about that. So we got him on Joe Rogan. We got him, I went to Sony. Anyway, the guy who invested in my documentary, all the equipment that I still have, is that guy. I met him boxing. And he made all his money in the early 2000s. He went into Fallujah as part of a private contracting team. They were him and his buddy. And they installed in Fallujah post-war, they installed all the Wi-Fi signals. So he made a lot of money there. And then he made a lot of money in 2017. He sold another tech company to a telecom agency here. And that's when I met him. But yeah, he's an angel investor now living out of Dubai. So my point is, he gets stressed out because people around him have their hands out. And he's smart with his money. I can only imagine the people around guys like Manny Pacquiao for years. The longer career, around Deontay Wilder, hopefully we want to think that they're smart with their money. I'm opening a small comedy spot. I need investors. Holler at me, investors. There you go. So if any of you guys need investors, what I advise you to do is create a pitch. Create an elevator pitch. You also have to create a market of your statistics of revenue. You want to see a forecasted approach based on statistics and how the revenue will be made, how the revenue will be monetized, or how it will be measured throughout a long-term, at least a 12-month sort of timeline. And a lot of investors will want to see proof is in the pudding, proof of concept. So if you want investors for the comedy club, you probably have to look into sort of things like, you have to ask yourself, why would the investors invest in this? just because of the idea, this day and age, that's not going to be enough. You have to show proof of concept. So keep that in mind as well. All right, guys, we're an hour in. I got to wrap my hands on this one. First live of the week. Stay tuned to the channel. I'm uploading the breakdown, analysis, and prediction of Pero, of Liam Wilson, and Kiera Rustin. Those fights happen Wednesday night here in Australia. And if you haven't already, like this video and subscribe. I salute.